In the high-energy world of dancehall, few names command as much respect, controversy, and loyalty as Vybz Kartel. Born Adidja Azim Palmer on January 7, 1976 in Kingston, Jamaica, he is a man who has spent over 2 decades reshaping not only Jamaican music, but also its cultural and political landscape. Whether you call him world boss, teacher, or simply Addy, there's no denying that Vybz Kartel is one of the most influential and polarizing figures in modern music history. Despite being incarcerated since 2011 on a murder charge, Kartel's voice still dominates airwaves, street parties, and playlists around the globe. But how did a kid from the streets of Waterford and Portmore become the king of dancehall, a cult figure, and a lightning rod for debate? This is the story of Vybz Kartel, his rise, reign, fall, and everlasting legacy. Humble beginnings in Portmore. Adidja Palmer grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Portmore, a satellite city just outside of Kingston. His early life was steeped in the grit and survival instincts typical of Jamaican inner-city youth. From a young age, Kartel showed an affinity for poetry, language, and music. He attended Calabar High School, but was expelled at age 16, an early sign of the rebellious streak that would later define his persona. Rather than being discouraged, Palmer continued his education privately and eventually completed his studies. But school was never going to hold the same promise as the streets and the sound system culture that called to him. From Vybz Kartel to Vybz Kartel, his first real break came when he joined a group called Vybz Kartel, named as a twist on the word cartel to imply dominance and strategy. Although the group disbanded, Adidja retained the name, changing the spelling slightly to Vybz Kartel, and struck out on his own. He first tasted success in the late 1990s when he was noticed by Bounty Killer, a towering figure in dancehall and a member of the Alliance. Kartel quickly became Bounty Killer's protege, ghostwriting lyrics for him and other big names. His clever wordplay, lyrical precision, and biting wit made him a standout talent. By the early 2000s, Kartel had transformed into a solo force to be reckoned with. Hits like Gun Clown, Tech Buddy Gal, and Picture This made it clear. Dancehall had a new voice, and it wasn't one to be ignored. The Teacher emerges Kartel's moniker, Teacher, wasn't just a nickname. It reflected his deliberate role in reshaping the lyrical style and vocabulary of dancehall. Through slang, double entendre, and complex rhymes, he taught a generation of artists and fans to reimagine what dancehall could be. His lyrics were often raw, unfiltered, and controversial, tackling themes from sex and street violence to politics and identity. But they were also poetic and richly textured. Songs like Emergency, Real Bad Man, and Clark's revealed a master of metaphor, someone who could make even a shoe brand a cultural movement. The Gaza Empire around 2006, Vybz Kartel broke away from Bounty Killer's alliance and formed his own camp, Portmore Empire, more popularly known as Gaza. This marked a critical shift, not just in his career, but in dancehall's ecosystem. Gaza became more than a label. It was a movement, a lifestyle, and to some, a political statement. Gaza's rival was the Gully Side, led by Mavado, another rising dancehall star. Their lyrical battle, sometimes playful, often deadly serious, defined the late 2000s. The Gaza-Gully feud transcended music, leading to violent clashes among fans and becoming a national issue that even Prime Minister Bruce Golding had to publicly address. Yet Kartel's Gaza empire also nurtured young talent. Artists like Pop Khan, Tommy Lee Sparta, and Ja Vinci got their start under his mentorship. Many of them have gone on to have successful solo careers, a testament to Kartel's eye for talent and influence as a cultural architect. The Clark's revolution and style icon status. If one song can sum up Kartel's power to shape pop culture, it's 2010's Clark's. What started as a simple ode to the British shoe brand became a full-blown phenomenon. Clark's sales in Jamaica reportedly tripled, and suddenly every youth wanted to wear desert boots and wallabies. The track and its sequels, Clark's Again and Where Way You Have, showed Kartel's unmatched influence on fashion and consumer behavior. From his skin bleaching, which sparked massive controversy and discussion around colorism in Jamaica, To his tattoos, hairstyles, and designer choices, Kartel redefined what a dancehall artist could look like. He wasn't just setting trends, he was engineering identity. Legal troubles in the murder trial. On September 29, 2011, Kartel was arrested and charged with the murder of Clive Lizard Williams, a former associate. The arrest was a bombshell, akin to a king being dragged from his throne. His trial stretched over several years and was one of the most closely followed legal sagas in Jamaican history. In March 2014, Kartel was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison with eligibility for parole after 35 years. The verdict was polarizing. Supporters claimed he was a victim of the system, targeted for his influence and persona. Critics argued it was long overdue justice. Yet even behind bars, Kartel did what few could. He remained musically dominant. His voice never disappeared. He released songs like Fever, Western Union, and Any Weather, many of which became chart toppers. Rumors swirled that he had a recording studio in prison, but the truth remains murky. What's clear is this: jail did not silence him. Artistry behind bars. One of the most remarkable aspects of Kartel's story is his continued output while incarcerated. Between 2014 and 2020 alone, he released multiple albums including King of the Dancehall, 2016, to Tansha, 2020, a deeply personal album dedicated to his longtime partner, Tansha Johnson of Dons and Divas, 2020, showcasing a blend of emerging and established artists. These projects revealed a more introspective Kartel. While the street anthems never disappeared, there were also tracks reflecting love, regret, and philosophical reflection. His music matured even as he remained physically confined. Kartel's lyrics began exploring the duality of man, his power and vulnerability, fame and isolation, hope and despair. And that made his legend grow even larger. Legal appeals and human rights controversies. In April 2024, Vybz Kartel won a significant victory when the Privy Council in the UK, Jamaica's highest court of appeal, overturned his conviction due to juror misconduct. The court found that the trial had been compromised in order to retrial. However, Kartel has remained in custody while legal proceedings continue in Jamaica. During his incarceration, human rights organizations have raised alarm over his health, citing reports that Kartel suffers from Graves' disease and that conditions in prison are deteriorating. Advocates argue that his continued imprisonment under such conditions is inhumane. Regardless of the outcome, this new legal chapter has reignited debates about justice, fame, and systemic corruption in Jamaica. Can the same system that once celebrated Kartel now offer him a fair chance? Legacy. The king of dancehall? Vybz Kartel isn't just a musician. He's a cultural blueprint. Over 2 decades, he's redefined what it means to be an artist in Jamaica. Lyrically, he pushed boundaries few dared to touch. Musically, he fused dancehall with R&B, hip-hop, and pop in innovative ways. Culturally, he influenced fashion, language, and identity. Socially, he remains a figure of both resistance and reckoning. Despite his incarceration, many still refer to him as the king of dancehall, a title contested only by a handful of legends like Beenie Man. Yet even Beenie has acknowledged Kartel's brilliance and cultural dominance. To his fans, Kartel is a folk hero, a voice for the voiceless, a ghetto prophet who rose to unimaginable heights. To his critics, he's a dangerous symbol of criminal glorification. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. Love him or loathe him, Vybz Kartel is unavoidable. His influence saturates not just Jamaican dancehall, but global music. From artists like Drake, who called him an inspiration, to Caribbean youth who still chant his lyrics like scripture, Kartel's shadow looms large. He once said, "Me new business who won vex, me Audi world boss." That confidence, that defiance, that irreverent genius, that's the essence of Vybz Kartel. And whether his future lies in freedom or confinement, the world will still be chanting his name long after the final beat drops.